What's up guys, Aiden here with another screencast. So it's been a while and I figured this time let's do a screencast on AspNet Core. So I was catching up on some NDC Sydney conferences and I was watching this talk by Steve Sanderson that I think he works on the AspNet Core team. He did this amazing talk on why we should use AspNet Core to develop our single page applications. And one specific bit that I particularly loved was the piece on, or the part on NodeServices. So we are able to run Node packages or JavaScript programs with Node by calling it from our AspNet Core application, which is really amazing. So if you think about it, the Node ecosystem is a lot richer than the AspNet Core ecosystem is for now, because it's been along for much longer and people have built amazing things. So for instance, I wanted to generate a PDF report for an AspNet Core application I've just deployed recently for a customer, and there just wasn't any good tools to generate PDFs. Or there are a couple ones, but there are a lot more choices out there if we are looking at node packages. So in this screencast, let's take a look at how we can call a node program from our AspNet Core controller. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use something called Yeoman or Yo to scaffold on an empty AspNet Core application using the AspNet generators. And then we're gonna kick off from there. So to be able to follow along in this screencast, what you need to have done before this is to install Yo or Yeoman and Bower globally. And once you've done that, you should also go ahead and install Generator AspNet, which will give us give us an entry point to Yeoman to be able to scaffold AspNet Core applications. Alright, so I've already done this obviously, so what we can do now is simply go ahead and type Yo AspNet, and we should be prompted with a CLI that will allow us to choose what kind of project we'd like to scaffold. Alright, so we have a couple of options here. We can do a console application, but we want to do a web application, and let's do it without the membership or authorization things. So let's do that, and let's not use Bootstrap. Let's see what semantic UI looks like. I already know what it looks like, but I think it's a good alternative to Bootstrap. So I'd love to see people use semantic UI more than Bootstrap. So we're gonna call this AspNet Core NodeServices demo. And I'm gonna link to Steve Sanderson's talk in the description if you'd like to see it in its full length. I really recommend it. He's a great talker and he's really good at coding along as he speaks. So now we can go ahead and change the directory to our newly created project, and let's do these commands: .NET restore, and then we can just go ahead and type .NET run. But I'm going to share a little tip with you guys. So by doing this, if you do any server-side code changes, we're going to need to stop the watch and then recompile the application, then run the watch again. So to avoid those necessary steps, we're going to install a CLI tool called Dotnet Watch. And what that will do, it will watch for changes on the files on disk, and if it detects some changes, it will automatically recompile the AspNet app for us. It won't refresh the browser, but it will detect the changes in our code. So you'll still need to go ahead and press F5. But there are solutions to avoid doing that out there as well, but we're not gonna get into that right now. So, but I am gonna show you how to use Dotnet Watch. So let's open up this newly created solution. And I'm gonna use Visual Studio Code for this. And let's open up project.json. And no, let's not do that. And just add a new tool, which is called the Dotnet Watcher. And we're gonna add that to this tools line right here. And we're gonna save that up. And let's switch back to the command prompt and do a .NET restore. So I'm going to try to move away from Visual Studio, the full Visual Studio IDE in my screencasts, because I've just noticed that a lot of people are using Visual Studio Code instead. So I'd like more people to be able to follow along. Alright, cool, so we restore the packages, and now we can simply go ahead and type .NET Watch and then pass in run. And this will compile the app for us and host our application, and we should be able to visit it at this URL. Alright, so we just browsed the application and we can see that it fired up for us. And we got a little, in my opinion, a fresher look than Bootstrap. So if you take a look here on the context page, you can see we have this text right here, and I know that this text is provided to us from the home controller in the contact action results. So if we just, for instance, do an exclamation mark here and save that up, we can see that our command prompt detects the change and it will recompile our app for us. And if we refresh the page now, this text should be updated. All right, so that's how you get up and running with the Dotnet Watch tool, which isn't really the focus in this screencast. So let's try to call some node code here, and to be able to do that, we're gonna need to add a new package. So let's come back to our code here, and packages.json, or where were we? Project.json, not packages.json, right? Let's go ahead and add a new package. It's called Microsoft AspNet Core, and then I think it should be called NodeServices. And let's see if we can find the versions, and it looks like we did. Cool, so let's add the latest beta. So even though this is still beta, I'm already using this in production, but I'm not recommending you guys to do it, but I am aware about the risks, so but it's just so awesome, I had to use it. All right, so let's come back here, and right, couldn't be the resolved, but let's just do a .NET restore. So we're still gonna need to kill the app to be able to restore the packages and then run the watch again. Hopefully this is the only time in this screencast that we're gonna do this. So we're done with that. Let's start the watch again. And now let's switch back to the code and enable NodeServices in our application. So we're gonna come to startup.cs and add NodeServices to our app. And by doing so, we should be able to inject something called iNodeServices into our controller. So let's open up our home controller, and let's actually generate a PDF. So I'm going to use something called HTML PDF or if it's PDF HTML. I don't remember. We're gonna need to look it up. But let's create a new method here. Let's call it report. And let's just return some content for now. So we're gonna return some text content. It's gonna be string empty. Let's take baby steps here. First, we're gonna create just a JavaScript file that we're gonna execute with Node on the server side, and then get the string content back into our AspNet MVC Razor page. So to be able to call a Node service here, we're gonna need to inject from services. Let's see if this resolves. Yeah, it does. So I just updated Visual Studio Code and it doesn't really get the IntelliSense. I'm gonna take a look at this later, just don't have the time for it now. But we can get something called NodeServices. Let's see if we can find that. Yeah, so we're gonna add the using AspNet core NodeServices. And let's call it NodeServices. Format this so it looks a little bit more sane. I don't know what's going on with Visual Studio Code right now. But anyways, so now we got Node services, and now we can use this to call into a Node. So we're gonna do something really simple here, var result, and then we're gonna await. And to be able to await something, we're gonna mark this as async, and this return a task. And we're gonna await Node services, and then we're gonna invoke something async, and we're gonna get a string result back. And then this method takes two parameters. It will take the JavaScript file that we want to execute, and then we can pass along params of we can pass along parameters as params to this invoke async that we can parse on the JavaScript side. All right, so let's just call this generate report.js, and let's not pass in anything for now. And since this is gonna return a string, let's just return the result there. And obviously now we need to create something called generate report.js. So let's do that. So we're just gonna add a new file here, generate report.js, and we're gonna export. So this is Node code here, right? So we're gonna export, we're gonna get a callback in, we're just gonna do something really simple here. We're gonna return the date time from our JavaScript code. So our callback will take two params. The first one is the error message that we've potentially got, but we don't have anything, so let's just pass null there for now. And then we're gonna pass the result. So let's just pass a new date. And this is our JavaScript code for now, just to wire everything up and make sure that it works. All right, so we get in callback, and then we just invoke the callback with a new date time. And the result will be passed back to our controller, and we're gonna just display it in a content result. So simple as that. Let's make sure we don't have any errors. Doesn't look like that. So we should be able to come to our app. Let's see where that browser is. Here. And call home report. And hopefully we should get the date time from our Node application. So it doesn't look like we've gotten the request yet. This is taking a bit longer than I was hoping for. Let's kill this. Whoops, we got some kind of error here. So this doesn't look any good. AspNet core. Maybe I've missed something. So it says func apply is not a function, right? Let's see here. Let's come back to our code. Did I have some kind of typo? Right. So I just typed export, should be exports. Let's save that up. Let's hope this works. F5, and boom, we got the datetime back from our Node application. So this is pretty insane. So when Steve showed this at NDC Sydney, he got no applause. So that just blew my mind. I was sitting at home watching this conference and it just blew my mind. So this is amazing. So I can think of a million use cases where we'd like to call some Node code because the ecosystem is just a lot more richer in the Node world than what it is on the AspNet core side for now. So let's see how easy it would be for us to generate a report from our Node application and render it in our browser. And for that, let's come here. Let's kill this app for now and go ahead and install something called HTML PDF. I'm gonna get up the documentation in the background. While that is installing, we can take a look at the Node package, and we can see that it uses Phantom in the background to be able to generate PDFs. So we'd probably like to stream the content back to our controller. So we're gonna use this API call right here. So we're gonna pass the stream, but we're gonna pass it to our callback function to be able to stream it back to our controller. And it sounds a bit complicated, but really it isn't. You're gonna see how easy it is to consume this stream in our backend. So now we've installed HTML PDF, and let's just fire up the app again and come back to Visual Studio Code. And what we can do now, we're just gonna go ahead and require HTML PDF. So we're just gonna type our Node code as we know it in this JavaScript file, and we want to pipe the result back to our controllers. So let's call this result instead, and let's just create some valid markup here. So we're gonna just create an h1 tag and go ahead and type hello world and end that tag. So this HTML to PDF is really rich, but we're not gonna get into depth there for now. We just want to be able to generate a PDF to see how easy it is to pipe the stream back to our AspNet core controller. So this is some valid markup here, and now we saw that we could just go ahead and let's copy paste the code so I don't get it wrong. We can just go ahead and type pdf.create and then pass in HTML, and then we'll get the stream, and we get an error here as well if it doesn't go well, which we can handle. But let's just do the happy flow for now. So we're gonna stream the result, and this is our callback function, but instead of writing it to a file like this, we're gonna go ahead and pipe it back to our stream. And result has something called stream, right? Let's save that up, and let's come back to a home controller. And instead of resolving a string here, we're gonna get a stream. We're gonna need to import the system.io namespace. And now we can't just pass it in as a content. we're gonna go ahead and return the stream as a file. I'm gonna give it a MIME content type, which is application/PDF. Right, so it shouldn't be any harder than this. So I'm hoping this will work. We can see that our console .NET Watch reacted to the change. And if we come back to the browser here, refresh, and we got our Hello World PDF that was generated using Node, and we called it from our AspNet core controller, which is super awesome. I really love this. I'm already using this in production, and it's just awesome work from the AspNet core team. And Steve Sanderson did a great job presenting this. It just blew my mind. I needed to do a screencast on this. So I've been super busy lately. I haven't been keeping up with the screencasts, but I'm gonna try to get back on track with that. I have some really fun projects going for me right now, so but I'm really gonna do my best to keep this, keep up the pace with producing some screencasts and share this awesome news with you guys if you somehow missed it. So really simple, let's just do a quick recap. What we did was, first of all, we took a look at how to configure the watcher. And then we just went ahead and, before that, we also installed this package right here, AspNet Core NodeServices. By doing that, we could configure our AspNet Core app to use the NodeServices. And then in our home controller, we could just inject from services this thing called iNodeServices. And we were able to call this JavaScript file. And this package just handles the inter-process communication and the error handling and all that hard stuff. You don't even need to think about it. It just works awesomely well. And if you get into some errors, almost forgot, it's really neat to debug these kind of applications. So we can see here we have an overload here that where we can configure our node services. Let's call that setup X, and then we can go ahead and say, let's see here, launch with debugging, right? So we can pass this, set this to true. And by doing so, let's see here, we can see that this reacts for us. And if we just regenerate this report, we should see some output here in our console. We can see that we can inspect the code that runs in a JavaScript file by installing something called Node Inspector globally. And I've already done that, so let's just fire up a new console here and just type Node Inspector. And that will fire up for us on port 8080. And we are listening for some other port. But let's come back here to this window, and we can see here that we can debug, we can actually see the JavaScript file code that is running on in Node. So if we put a breakpoint here and refresh this, we are hitting this breakpoint here, and we can debug our JavaScript code right here from this Node Inspector, which is awesome as well. So if you guys are using Chrome, the developer tools there, you will be quite familiar with the look and feel of this debugging tool. So this is super awesome. We can just let the debugger pass on, or I just pressed the wrong button. Whoops. Okay, let it go, and we are generating our PDF. So that's super cool. So that's all for now, and if you guys like what I do, make sure to subscribe to my channel by pressing up here somewhere, and also make sure to follow me on Twitter. And until next time, have a nice day, guys. Bye.